Welcome collectors, new and old, to your Dragon Ball figure collecting guide. In this new series on my channel, we'll be explaining as much as we can from types of figures, where to buy them, the best way to store and display them, and possibly more. This was a community-driven video after many requests and seeing so many individuals within our community have questions regarding Dragon Ball figures. Today, we'll be focusing on Travis Ambrosius's idea for where to start, types of figures explained. We'll be going over the companies behind the figures, how to make sense of all the branding and figure lines, and even give some examples and overall opinions of each line of figures. Before we start with the guide, please remember to like and leave a comment to help out with that algorithm, and of course, subscribe to watch more content like this. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, all collectors have been in the situation where you see all these different types of figures. Different shapes, different sizes, quality, some with bases, some without, some expensive, some cheap, some... Yeah, we avoid those. How do you make sense of any of these? Well, before we start breaking down each figure, allow me to make sense of the entire thing. Every figure has a company/distributor, a type or line of figure, variants of a figure, and the series that it's from, and I don't mean the actual anime. Allow me to elaborate. Figures typically have a brand or company behind the distribution of each figure. The most popular and common one is Banpresto. Banpresto was a Japanese toy company and a former game developer and publisher headquartered in Shinagawa, Tokyo. The current iteration of the company was formed on April 1st, 2008 with the focus on the toy consumer business. The company was then dissolved in February 2019 and combined into Bandai Spirits, with the company getting all the rights and duties of Banpresto. Now, Bandai is a name we're familiar with in the gaming world, but funny enough, Banpresto used to be a subcontractor for Sega in their arcade division, which is weird how those things change so quickly. Banpresto's gaming division created a variety of Japan-exclusive games, most notably the Super Robot Wars games. Banpresto's name and logo will be slapped along many of the boxes you see for figures. But for Dragon Ball specifically, you'll almost always see their Toei animation sticker along the box to let you know that it is an authentic product and not a bootleg. Here are the different types of Toei animation stickers from each region and release. To clarify, Toei Animation does not make the figure. They likely just give the okay and decide on what should be made and marketed. They then give their sticker of authenticity to products to be released. A type or line of a figure is one you've probably noticed quite a bit, especially when shopping for them or seeing one of the reviews on my channel. These go by a variety of different names, such as Masterlies, Grandista, Super Master Stars Piece, Maximatic, and many others. These are specific lines of figures under the Banpresto/Bandai umbrella that have a certain style or quality tied to them. For example, Masterlies are typically high-quality figures that are almost always exclusive to the Ichibankuji lottery system, while Grandista are larger figures that can be found overseas on nearly every release. Almost every line of figure has variants tied to them as well. With Masterlies, you might have Masterlies Extra, King Cluster, or their last one prize. With Grandista, you have Nero and Manga Dimensions. I'll dive deeper into each of those series specifically later on in the video, but just keep in mind that each line of figures usually has a subset within their line. Most figures have a series within their line. Using Masterlies and Grandista for example, Masterlies have different series for certain releases, such as World Tournament Super Battle, Omnibus vs. Super, or Back to the Film as a few examples. Grandista has Resolution of Soldiers and, well, that's about it when it comes to Dragon Ball at least. It aims to be seen what Grandista will be doing in their series moving forward. Now, before I move forward and start talking about the different lines of figures, what they generally deliver, some examples, and my overall thoughts of them, I want to talk a little bit about Ichiban Kuji. Some people have seen this term thrown around a bunch and don't know whether it's a series or line of figures, and the answer is neither. I explained this in most of my videos, but for those who are unaware, Ichiban Kuji is a limited run lottery system created by Banpresto. These figures are usually exclusive to Japan and will have their overseas or Ichibancho versions released in limited quantity, if at all. To play Ichiban Kuji, you have to live in Japan, go to a local retailer participating in the lottery like a 7-Eleven, and ask to play. You'll typically pay for and pull a ticket that costs around $8 or so. That ticket will have a letter tied to it that will go towards that Kuji's prizes. The prizes vary from art boards, towels, phone straps, or a plush, but the most sought after prizes are the figures, and usually the last one prize is the most valuable. The last one prize is given when all tickets have been pulled. We never get the last one prize overseas. It's always a Japan-only figure. I will leave a link in the description to Bandai's official video showcasing how to play Ichiban Kuji so that you get a better idea. Nowadays, most Kuji are Master Lee's figures. You don't typically see Master Lee's figures released outside of a Kuji unless it's their overseas distribution. I hope that explanation was helpful or made sense to you. Now let's proceed and break down the lines of figures within Banpresto's umbrella. A quick disclaimer before I do, this certainly won't talk about every single line of figure. I'm bound to miss some as I don't collect every single type of figure, and there are just so many out there that I might just overlook some. This list will try to cover most of the figures you'll find me reviewing on this channel. If I miss any, feel free to ask me about them on my Instagram account seen here or in the comments below. Also, I will be referring to this as Banpresto rather than Bandai, but to reiterate, they are the same company in this context. Let's talk about the different types of figures, starting with my favorites, Master Lee's figures. Master Lee's is supposed to mean master size, I guess for their size and quality. As I said before, most Master Lee's figures are exclusive to Ichiban Kuji releases outside of their overseas releases. These are released on almost a monthly basis for Kujis for different series. These tend to be the highest quality and value of any figure out there. The figures usually look exactly like moments from the anime, have shading all over their sculpt, and retain a ton of value due to how good they look. When it comes to actual pricing of these figures, you'll find the international releases or the Ichibancho releases range anywhere between $35 to $45 US. Except for in recent times, the Android Kuji has some figures priced well over $100. Weird times we're in. That could be due to the high demand for that set or Ichiban Kuji as a whole. Hopefully, that won't be the norm moving forward, but I will keep you guys updated on my channel for that. If you are buying these figures out of Japan so you can get the entire set, like the last one prize, expect to pay closer to $65 to $90 per figure. A few of my favorite series they've done are World Tournament Super Battle, Back to the Film, Omnibus Versus, Greatest Saiyan, Extreme Saiyan, and others. I have reviews on most of these series of figures on my channel, so feel free to check out one of the playlists I've created to see more. Master Lee's do have subsets within their line, such as Master Lee's Extra, which seems to be for larger figures around 14 inches, King Cluster for primarily large Broly figures, and Master Lee's E-Moving for figures with detachable pieces for different poses. Here are a few examples of Master Lee's figures and their subsets. Up next is Grandista. Grandista is an incredibly popular line from Banpresto that features characters from manga series that were featured in Shonen Jump, such as Dragon Ball, One Piece, Naruto, and several others. The figures are noticeably big. They roughly stand around 10 to 11 inches and exemplify accurate detail through the sculpt of the figure. These typically vary in terms of quality, but I'd say 8 out of 10 times you'll walk away happy with your purchase. There are subsets within Grandista called Grandista Nero, which are usually re-releases of past Grandista figures, but with added features such as interchangeable pieces, a different form, or added details like manga dimensions figures. The Nero figures also don't release in Japan, oddly enough. They're a lot more affordable than Masterlies most of the time, as they don't come in an entire set most times and cost around $25 to $30. The Nero figures usually run a little bit higher though, ranging from $40 to $60. Most Grandista figures are within the Resolution of Soldier series, which makes it simple for collectors. Here are a few examples of Grandista and Grandista Nero figures. Let's move on to another popular pick within the collecting community, Master Star's Piece. Master Star's Piece is one of the series produced by Banpresto to go along their strategy of making very high quality figures. It involves male characters from successful Japanese franchises like Dragon Ball, Naruto, or One Piece. These figures are almost exclusively seen within Ichibankuji releases, but typically have overseas releases alongside them. The name behind the series breaks down like this. Master represents the quality and skill behind the sculptor of the figure. Stars indicates that it's a well-known character, and Piece is the design of the final product itself. Obviously, the name is a pun on the word masterpiece to emphasize on the quality intended for this figure series. The two subsets are Master Star's Piece and Super Master Star's Piece. Super Master Star's Piece are the larger, more expensive, high-quality pieces within Kuji sets, while Master Star's Piece are slightly smaller and cheaper products, but usually still bring in some solid quality. Super Master Star's figures will generally be 12 inches or taller, while Master Star's hovers around the 8 to 10 inch mark. The Super Master Star's Piece line always releases with 4 versions of the figure, including the brush, the original, the tones, and the manga dimensions. Super Master Star's Piece figures usually cost about $65, while Master Star's Piece will cost around $40 unless they have a special version like a manga dimensions. In that case, they'll cost around the same as a Super Master Star's Piece. Here are a few examples of Master Star's Piece and Super Master Star's Piece figures. Moving on, I'd like to talk about my second favorite line of figures, Maximatic. This was a series started in 2020 that aimed to bring the maximum volume, the maximum molding skill, the maximum coloring technique, and the maximum thought into a figure. Now, whether you believe that is up to you, but I think they hit all of those marks, at least in a general sense. The name is clearly a play on the word maximum in a figure's maximum potential to bring everything it can to the table for a collector. There have been other series such as One Piece and Demon Slayer to create Maximatic figures, but this all started with Dragon Ball and Goku. The series delivered different forms of Gokus across the series. We have also added Vegeta into the mix as of last year. I've noticed that they typically will make 2 different leg molds for the figure and reuse both for each of the forms introduced throughout the series. These are generally delivered in high quality sculpts, paint, likenesses, and size. Usually, the only area they'll lack in is the shading if you want your figures to have shading on their backsides. The pricing is highly competitive, just like Grandista, as most figures are only about $25 to $30. So far, these have all been about 8 to 10 inches in size as well. Here are some examples of Maximatic figures. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball games, then this next one is definitely for you. Dokkan Battle and Dragon Ball Legends have their own line of figures based on iconic moments from the hit mobile games. These are typically available through Crane Games in Japan and are released overseas at major retailers. The Dokkan figures are sometimes released within Kuji, but are usually in the aforementioned Crane Games. These figures vary in quality. Some are released on giant bases, some are small, but others turn out better than you can imagine. I have a handful of these in my collection and have been happy with my purchases. You'll end up spending $20 to $30 on figures like these. Here are some examples I have in my own collection. Do you like waifus? Well, then the second to last figure series is just for you. The Glitter and Glamours label comprises figures of female characters from various manga and anime series such as One Piece and Dragon Ball. I'd like to give a fair warning that while these figures aren't super provocative, they do enhance some of the female specific parts to make them a little more sexualized. I'm all for female empowerment, but it does feel kind of weird for me personally at times. With all that in mind, I still do enjoy the size and quality of these figures most times. They range from 10 to 12 inches, and while they don't add any shading, they do capture likeness and color perfectly every time. These are also won in Crane Games in Japan and released overseas with 2 color variants for about $25 each. Here are some of my favorite Glitter and Glamours figures. I'm going to cover one final selection here, being Crane or prize figures, something I've been mentioning quite often in this video. This covers a lot of different figure series under Banpresto's umbrella, but kind of falls under the same category holistically. These figures are usually much cheaper and on some sort of base or stand of some kind. I'm sure you've seen them within series like Blood of Saiyans, FES, and many others. These are won in Japan typically through a Crane game, just like the ones you will typically see in arcades. The overseas versions of these are usually available for a cheap price, around $25 to $30 or so, and it's on most retailers' websites. I'm typically not a fan of these for many reasons. The biggest reason being that the base these figures usually stand on are very space consuming for absolutely no reason. I like having as much space as possible on my shelves, and Crane figures just take up so much room. They're also much smaller and lacking in many details such as shading most times. They also sometimes come out with very jank looking faces. Now, if you're starting out as a collector, then maybe these aren't that bad of a pickup. Like I said, they're easy to find and cheap. But if you want to avoid having to sell these figures in the future because you've decided to focus on Masterlies, Grandista, and other higher quality figures like I did, then maybe skip these moving forward. So, that's it for my list. Now, there are many more figures that I didn't cover in this video. If there is a series of figures that you'd like me to cover in the future, please let me know down in the comments section below. If this video was helpful for you as a beginner or even someone who's been collecting for a while, give it a like and share it with your friends interested into getting collecting. I'll be planning on making more of these videos focused on figure maintenance, displaying, where to buy them, and whatever else we as a community can think of crafting up together. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you get notified of my future uploads. Until next time, later.